So here we are in the workshop again. We decided to do a companion piece to the hiking up our skirts. My mom recently asked me for a set of these so that she could cinch in her shirts in the back after watching my video. And so I just took these two little clips off of a mitten clip that I found at a resale shop. One side, the fabric will go through this loop, and the other side, the fabric would get clipped into these clips that had to be pried open to get the elastic that was in there out. Now also, I will be changing the image and using some of this scrap fabric that came from a resale shop as well. It's just a little piece of scrap fuzzy fabric. So now I'm going to cut about a 2" by 4" piece of this fabric. Alright, there's my 2 by 4 piece of that fabric. We're going to flip that over. And here are the little clips that are going to be attached eventually. Okay. So that gives us a basic idea of how big it's going to be. It's obviously going to be a little bit smaller. So first I'm going to take my E6000 glue and put a bead all along the two edges. Then I'm going to glue this over so that after it's glued over, it's the same width as the clips. I actually decided to use my Fabri-Tac instead of the E6000. The Fabri-Tac drives a little bit faster. It's a little more flexible too than the E6000. Alright, so here we have, you can see that they're roughly about the same width as the two clips. That's the good side. That's the side that I glued. This fabric is very forgiving since it has this fringiness to it. It's a little less noticeable, the seam here. If you were using a different one, you would want to iron this down to make a nice crease, but because of this fringiness, I don't feel that's necessary. But if you do, feel free to iron it flat. Then I'm going to decide how long I want this. Usually, if you look at some other ones that I have, usually they're about that long. So I'm not too far off. There are some shorter ones you could do. You can pretty much make them any length you want. And there are some longer ones. Well, maybe not too much longer. So for the most part, you're just making sure you have the fabric and you figure out the length that you want them to be. So back to the one we're making. So right now I have both wrong sides of my clip that I'm going to attach and the piece of fabric. I'm going to put the end of this fabric into the end of this particular clip. Then clamp these down using my nifty pliers. If you were using something like this clip, you would fold it over and you would glue it on the other side, or you could sew it like this one is around that first loop. These have identical loops on either side. Alright, so let me get that put in there and I'll be right back. Alright, so now it's in that clip, it's nice and tight. I can pull on it pretty well and it's not coming out. Turn it over. That's how it looks right now with the clip on that fabric. Alright, so then we're going to turn that back over, so wrong side's up. Then we're going to attach the other one, deciding how long we want it. So here we have, I put it through the loop of the other clip. So I have the wrong side of the first clip that we cinched, the wrong side of the fabric, the loop of the other clip, wrong side up. I like this length, although it's for my mom who wants to use it as a shirt hike. So I am going to make that just a little bit shorter just by moving that down a little bit. So all this extra here is going to be, now I'm going to glue it down to the back side of the original piece of fabric, and that will be my length there, my total length. I'll also put a couple of stitches through with needle and thread. Alright, here we are. They're glued on and it's flipped over to the right side where the clip faces are facing up. The clip faces are facing up now, and it is all sealed and dry. Now, I didn't want to just leave it like this. I'm going to lightly roughen up the surfaces of the flaps here. Then I have these. These you can get at your bead shop. I'm not sure where I got them originally. I just have a few of them left, so I thought these would be a good way to use up an item and help me clean out some of my little baubles and doodad drawers. So this, normally you would put a bead in there and then you would cinch it around, or you would have a large bead with one of these on either side of the bead on a necklace. But I'm going to use them as little decorative pieces instead. And all I did is to get them flat simply was to just push on them and they flatten. So again, I just pushed on it and it's nice and flat. Now, in order to completely cover the design here of the snowman, I will have to stack two of them to look like a little flower and then attach that to the snowman clip. For that, I will be using the E6000 industrial strength adhesive. And this does come in little tiny bottles, which I really love for small projects, so I'm not wasting any product. But it does come in a really large container tube as well. And you just want to make sure you always get that cap back on right away, or else this will turn into solid cement. I've been doing a lot of projects today, so I thought it would be safe to start with this, but you would want to use a smaller one so you don't cause waste. Alright, so that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to just take a nail file, a simple nail file, or I do have a tool that came with my jewelry kit that I got, and I might use that since it has a sanding rod. But you can use a nail file, a piece of sandpaper. You just want to rough up that shiny surface so that the glue has something to stick to, as well as grab onto your little decorative pieces. Alright, so everything is glued in place. We just need to let it sit and dry. Here you can see where the two overlapping make that little flower over that clip and over that clip. And then I added the 3 in the middle to help disguise any of the hardware a little bit. This has to sit for a good hour before we can move on to any additional step. So it ended up being a little more metallic than I really was anticipating. So I have a few options that I pulled out. I could put a little bead in the center of each of these. So I have this larger pearl. I also have a smaller pearl, which I do like this. I think I lean towards the smaller pearl, and I would put that on each center. Or I was thinking about just sticking a little tiny clear, and that's just not enough to go happen in there. Yeah, that's just not enough. So get out of there. Yeah, I'll pull that out later. So it looks like what I'm going to do is add a little bit of the E6000 to the very tops of these metal flowers that I made. And then in the center of each metal flower, I'm going to put a little pearl bead. I don't know about you, but I think that looks a lot better, having those little pearls on there. This is going to take about another hour to completely set, and then I will show you how to use this new shirt tuck or skirt hike to customize your clothing. When it's used in the front, you just gather up the 2 pieces of material, pull it in, attach the clips. You can do the same thing in the back to create a more fitted look, otherwise without them. It's just very flowy and not fitting.